Good morning. Today we're going to be talking about mindfulness and open mindset versus closed mindset. Mindfulness is living the present moment. So you are only living in the present. You're not living in the past. You're not living in the future. Time travel is possible. People spend most of their time thinking about what they did yesterday or thinking about what they're going to do tomorrow. They very rarely live in the present. The present moment is really the only moment that we have, that we can live in. You can't go back and change the past, and you don't know what the future is gonna bring. You know that what you have in front of you at this present moment is all that you ever will have. And once that moment is gone, then you're in the next moment. For example, if you are listening to me, are you thinking of something else that you have to do today? What does your body feel like? Do you feel the pain somewhere in your body? And to make problems even more problematic, we try to do more than one thing at a time, like eat, drive, and talk on the phone. And so while we're trying to do all these things at one time, we're missing the present moment. We can't see. It's like when you drive home from work. You don't even remember the drive home because you're so busy thinking about what you're going to do when you get home from work that you miss the drive home from work. Not saying that you need to pay attention to it, but you need to pay attention to what's going on around you. For people who don't understand, the mindfulness, they can be missing out on a lot in life because of that fact. As a result, we miss what life has to offer. I'm not saying that every time, every moment, there's going to be something that is there, but you can miss something. Just like I've been talking about helping veterans with suicide prevention. You being preoccupied with your past or with your future may be that one moment that you need to be mindfulness when that veteran is reaching out to you for help, and you miss it because you are, in the past or in the future. The operational working definition of mindfulness is the awareness that emerges through paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally to the unfolding experience of the moment by moment. So you're not judging the moment, you're just letting it happen. You're not thinking, I could do that better than that person. You're not engaged in anything else but that. To practice mindfulness, you have to do it on purpose because it is a skill. Anytime that we have a skill that we're trying to learn, you have to practice it. You have to say, okay, I'm going to be mindful for the next 5 minutes, and that, believe it or not, will turn out to be an eternity. So what you need to do is start off with a minute and have a timer set, and I just want you to focus on whatever is around you, be mindful of what's going on, and then go on and see if you can be mindfulness for a minute, and that's a long time. It really is a long time. In other words, be in the moment, be here now. In the Army, when I was in combat, that was a moment that we had to be mindful. We had to know there was nothing else more important in our lives than being mindful of the situation around us. Every movement, every sound, every thought was directed toward that one thing of staying alive in combat. I know that I cannot compare it to any other thing than that. However, I don't have any of those moments. As a result, I got better at being in the moment. I can't live my life at the level of intensity. So, obviously being in combat, the level of intensity is way high, and you can't live in that intensity, but you can still live in the moment. The more you practice this skill, the more aware you'll become of using that skill when it's necessary. Nobody can be mindful 100% of the time. Even if you're focused on it, you can't be that focused and still do everything else you need to do. The more mindful you are, you will gain control over your life. And this just has to do with living in the moment. You're not worried about the past. You're not concentrated on the future. You're concentrated on the moment that you're in. Because being in that moment is all you have. So like I said, conversations are a big thing, that we can be mindful with. Be mindful, be focused on, that person in front of you, make that eye contact, the active listening skills that come into play, where you repeat back to them what they said, you summarize, you ask questions, you have eye contact, you watch for verbal language, stuff like that, and that's important in a conversation, and so being mindful in that conversation, you'll pick up on things that you otherwise will miss because you're somewhere else. So mindfulness is the ability to be aware of your thoughts, emotions, physical sensations, and actions in the present moment without judging you or yourself or criticizing. So, like I said, it's a skill. Most people can get easily distracted or spend their day running on autopilot. And I know you've had this feeling. I know you had these days where things were just kind of blah, and you just kind of just let things run, because your mind and your body are so used to doing those actions that you don't need to focus on them, So see which one of these fits you. While driving home, you don't remember the experience or which roads you took. Like I said, driving home from work. While walking into a room, you solely forget you came into the room. Of course, I have that happen all the time. I think that's called old age, but you're so focused on something else, you can't remember what you were going for. While having a conversation, you already are planning your response before the other person has stopped talking and going back to active listening. When you're having that conversation, be mindful of what the person is saying and don't do those other things. These are harmless examples, but people who are overwhelmed by their emotions, this can be devastating. So while these are just everyday common things, people that struggle with their emotions are having a harder time because it's just that much more ramped up for them than it is, And like I said, going back to the open mindset versus closed mindset. Closed mindset means that you're not changing anything. You're okay with the way things are going. You don't really care one way or another what anything's going to happen. And you kind of just float along with the river. It's kind of like if you throw a leaf out into the river and you just watch that leaf go with the current. That's kind of how it is with a closed mindset. You don't really change anything, you just let everything go. With an open mindset, you make a mistake and you say, why can't I, what did I do wrong? How can I do it better? Or maybe you did good, but you want to figure out how you can do it better than that. Or you're challenged by something and you're thinking, okay, the last time I had this challenge, this is how I responded to it. You know, in a closed mindset, you will say, I'm not good enough, this is too hard, I can't do this. You're always defeating yourself before the opportunity even comes up, you know. And that's why it's so hard for people to get out of that negative mindset, because they need to realize that they're in that negative mindset, you know. So practicing mindful skills. Focus on one thing in the present moment. By doing this, you can control and soothe your emotions, overwhelming emotions. So I've been in a lot of situations where I have done that before because of the fact that I knew what was going on around me and I needed to step back and calm down. This works in panic attacks because of the fact that you are having a panic attack, you realize it, so you say, okay, I gotta focus on cutting this one tomato or whatever it is. Mindfulness will help you learn to identify and separate judgment thoughts that your experiences through your thought from your experiences. These judgmental thoughts often fuel your overwhelming emotions. So for people, you know, who are having these thoughts of saying, oh, it's bad, I'm not good at this, you have to separate those and realize that that's the judgment side of you talking, and that you need to separate that out and not judge and realize, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get this done. Finally, mindfulness will help you develop a skill that is important in DBT therapy called wise mind. Wise mind, it is a decision-making process that balances the reasoning of your thought with the needs of your emotions. And it's a skill that we'll talk about in a couple weeks. What I want to talk about next week is radical acceptance. And this goes along with mindfulness in that you accept things as they are around you, and you don't try to change them, you don't try to influence them, you don't try to do anything else to it. You just get it done, and that's it. And so, you know, y'all have a good week, and we'll talk to y'all next week.